What's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Commodity. I'm Fez, and today we're taking a look at my Australian hunting philosophy, hashtag hunting Australia, and I'm ready to go. I'm just playing. This is actually my hunting rifle. So I love this thing. It is great. Very powerful. I need to get covers for my scope, but hunting only, nothing more than that. It is not a semi-auto, so every time I shoot the gun, I have to do that basically to release the round. So it would take. Can't really do a whole lot with something like this. I mean, you could, but you'd be caught before anything major happened. But that's my hunting rifle. So we've been discussing quite a bit on our comments section about hunting and how basically non-native species is the popular thing to hunt right now, or that you can actually hunt rather. And they said mostly deer, and I believe they said rabbit, which is quite interesting. So I do hunt rabbit. I do hunt deer. So that rifle is my deer rifle. It is a 243 Win Mag. Just to give you an idea of size. And then check this out. So when I hunt rabbit, I'll either use a shotgun, which there's a bunch of little BBs in there if you don't know how a shotgun works. And I'm not a big fan of actually shooting rabbit with shotgun shell, because you got to go in there and clean it, because I don't shoot anything that I'm not willing to eat, period. So we're talking philosophy. I have a major philosophy when it comes to hunting. Number one, respect the animal. No matter if it's an invasive species or a non-invasive species, when you shoot it, be very thankful for what it's providing and let it actually provide. I hate the guys that just mount a head and then get rid of the meat, and that's all they care about. No, I don't mind mounting a head. I mean, I wouldn't, but I don't mind it, as long as you're using the meat or at least donating the meat. Ideally, using a portion and then donating whatever you can't use, depending on the size of the animal. Never always shoot to kill. Never let the animal suffer. That is the most inhumane thing that you could possibly do while hunting. So those are two of my major musts. And of course, you got to follow all the rules and regulations. However, I do not really like using this, because you got to be able to clean out the rabbit. A lot of these will have a whole bunch of BBs to kill the rabbit. So what I actually prefer, I use a 22 caliber long rifle round, which is actually, if you compare it to my deer round, it is noticeably different. And then when I go hunting hog, so a hog is a very invasive species in most places, because they are able to breed so long. So long, so soon, and so much that it's literally, when you say they breed like rabbits, I think hogs are in the same level. Pigs, wild feral pigs, whatever you want to call them. And this is what I use. This is a 308 Winchester Magnum. So you can kind of see it's a little bit bigger. The actual bullet itself is bigger. And this thing travels much faster, because, I mean, you can even see the diameter of the back is noticeably larger as well. So yes, because they run in packs and they will tear you up. If you're deer hunting, I always carry a rifle that holds this, that is a semi-auto, because I don't go up in trees. A lot of people will go into stands. I do not, because I have a fear of heights. So I'm on the ground in a blind, and if they decide to charge, you want something that you can fire quickly and kill quickly, because they will attack you. So typically, usually it's never happened to me, but it could. So that's a hypothetical situation. But when I do go look for them, I want to be able to shoot more than one. Now, they don't eat as well, granted, but again, they're invasive and dangerous. And I appreciate them for what they are. I appreciate them for letting me have, I'll admit it, some fun. But at the same time, I do eat usually as much as I can kill, because they have tons of fat. And a lot of their meat is not actually edible. But to prevent them from spreading and killing off the local crop and all that kind of stuff. You can always ask a farmer to let you on their property, and 99% of the time, if they're not really big into doing it themselves, they'll let you on. And this bad boy right here will save the day. So let's jump into this video. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, bell notification. And this is not a gun conversation. This is hunting. We're not talking about mass shootings. We're not talking about any of that. If you post that in the comments, I know it's an issue. I am very for gun regulation, but I use my guns for hunting and hunting only. I don't even use them for home security because that doesn't make sense. Because this bullet, I shoot this at somebody, it's going to go through them, it's going to go through the wall, it's going to kill my neighbor, and then it's possibly going to kill their neighbors. My neighbor's neighbor. Yeah. That's how powerful that is. This will do the exact same thing. Probably won't go that far, but I could kill my neighbor with that. This, odds are, it will not do the same thing, but it doesn't matter. It's still a bullet. It's still very dangerous. Guns are very dangerous, and I'm afraid of them, so therefore I respect them there are people I respect a lot less. Let me put it that way. And he was a former president. Anyways, and then these guys, this is probably the most ideal for home security. Number one, like I have a slide action shotgun. When I went to go get my concealed handgun license, which I don't ever carry because they scare the crap out of you, the guy was like 99.9% of the time that people are breaking in your house, they just want your stuff. Just grab the shotgun, slide it. Doesn't even have to be loaded. 99% of the time, they're going to leave because that thing is scary sounding. So this is my Mossberg Maverick. It's super quiet. I mean, it's super cheap, not quiet. But to just slide it, that's supposed to scare people away. And guess what? It works. I mean, I don't know firsthand, but I've heard multiple stories that it definitely scares people. As far as home security goes, that's it for me. And to be perfectly honest, I live in a place that I don't really have to worry about it. I lock my doors. So if somebody's truly breaking down my door, I'll have plenty of time. They're metal doors, so not that big of a deal. Okay, anyways, let's jump in. No conversation about anything about gun rules, laws, all that kind of stuff. We're not talking about that today. We are strictly talking about hunting, which is a perfectly normal thing to do, even in Australia. We just have more relaxed laws behind it. So let's jump into this. Let's take a look. I want to see what this guy has to say.
So it's a beautiful, cold and misty morning here in Victoria, Australia, and I thought that's a perfect opportunity. Get out there in the bush and let's talk about my philosophy of hunting.
Hey. Oh, he's so cute. Is that what?
Let's go, Baxter.
That's a border collie, right? I don't know. You can correct me for sure, but that's my guess.
Wait, so scratch that. Before we go hunting, I need to quickly feed the pigs. Oh man, you guys are filthy this morning. Oh.
Holy cow, yeah. Now what's interesting, if you let a domesticated pig out, they will go feral so fast and they will start to grow tusks. It's crazy what they will actually do and what being feral has affected them because they don't need the teeth like a feral hog does, and they don't need the thick skin or the extreme hair like a feral hog. Obviously, they do have hair, but it's nothing. It's not even the same.
All right, now we're ready to go hunting. All right, so we're out now in the bush and it's cleared up a little bit, which is beautiful. This is actually Enfield State Park in Victoria, just a gorgeous area. And I thought it'd be great to stop while it's calm and given this is the first video, to sit down and talk about my philosophy of hunting, because essentially the 4 values that I'm going to share right now underpin the reasons why I hunt, and I'll be informing essentially the content that I make. So timestamps below if you want to jump to any one of those 4 points, but let's get started with number 1. So the first reason why I hunt is an appreciation of nature, and I don't think you can spend any time out in a place like this and not be wowed, not be impressed by nature, not be captivated by nature, not be spurred on in a desire to learn more about nature. It's just beautiful and amazing and complex, and the interplay between the flora and the fauna and things like weather and thermals and wind and the terrain and learning how to navigate that are just they're just amazing fun things to learn and engage with. And hunting essentially provides you with an amazing opportunity to appreciate nature and appreciate the things and the systems that work in nature in a fun and interesting way. And so I love getting out into the bush and escaping all the craziness of life and just stopping when it's calm like this.
It's the best.
And listening to the birds and listening for animal sounds and finding tracks and trails and just calming down. I think nature is just amazing and beautiful, and as much time as I can spend in it, I will. The second key value...
Before we get into that one, that is without a doubt. It's so funny. I do take a picture of my kill or of how I clean it or whatever the case may be. I will take pictures of that. Not a lot, maybe one or two. But I take so many more pictures of just the being outside. Usually because I own an RV. Actually, I just sold it. But I never used it to actually go hunting or anything like that. Shoot, I only used it once. And then I sold it. Such a big headache. But I always tent camp. And I love it. And I'll find, a real pretty background. And I love taking pictures of it with the tent and everything. And just, I go by myself, which a lot of people are very against that. But it's just that it's going back to the roots of, man and, that beating the chest type thing. I know it sounds very funny, but I bet you a man like this guy right here would actually understand it. There's just something about being again, it sounds cheesy, one with nature and being one with the animals there and connecting at a different level, a deep level. And it's just something you can't describe if you don't do it. I don't know how to explain it.
That informs my philosophy of hunting is similar to the first one, but rather than appreciation of nature, it's appreciation of animals.
100%.
Which some people might find strange, non-hunters, given that you hunt animals, how can you appreciate them? But it's because I appreciate them that I hunt them. It's because I appreciate them that I want to learn more about them. I want to learn about their feeding habits. I want to learn about, where they bed. I want to learn about how they move and their biology. I want to learn about their sexuality and how they engage with, partners and offspring. I want to learn about all those things. I want to learn about the qualities of their hide, and I want to learn about their bone structure and about their muscle groups and all about them. And I think if you talk to anyone who's, spent any given amount of time hunting, you'll discover that they know a lot about animals, especially the animals that they're hunting. So, for instance, if they're hunting sambar deer, or they're hunting fallow, or red deer, or they're really keen on hunting rabbits, or red foxes, or whatever it is, they know heaps about those animals because they're interested in those animals and they love those animals. And you even find there's like an element of conservation that comes out of hunters as well. A lot of conservationists out there are actually hunters. They're invested in the livelihood of these animals because they want to hunt them and they want to appreciate them in the wild. And I've heard countless stories over the years of especially deer hunters who hunt the same areas time and time again, and they find these old bucks, these grey old bucks, and they become almost friends with them. And they don't shoot them, they don't kill them, they don't harvest them. They just learn to appreciate them, and they bump into them every so often, and he might be, have like a scar on his face or something, and there's this point where they look at each other in the wild, and there's this respect between the animal and the hunter that can only be sourced from an appreciation of an animal. So that's one of the reasons why I love hunting, is because you get to learn about animals and you get to engage with them regularly. So the third...
Yes, absolutely. It's really funny because when you hunt, like I said before, you're wanting to hunt. If you're wanting to hunt with actual respect towards the animal, you want it to be a precise kill. So doing so, you have to know the anatomy of the animal. You have to know bullet placement. You have to know, and every animal's a little bit different. If you're good enough, the average person shoots for the heart. If you don't have a good vantage point for that, some people will just sit and wait and even lose the kill for that if that's the only way that they do it. And that's the only way I do it, because that's the certain kill. You can shoot. I know people that are willing to shoot the spine and the neck because you don't want blood going everywhere in the body, because what happens is that ruins the meat and spoils it. You definitely don't want to hit the stomach or the the entrails because you're going to cause bile to go throughout the body. You can still kill the animal, but you're ruining part of the animal, which I think is, again, a big respect to the animal by actually using what you're killing. And then just knowing how to clean the animal and take out all the stuff. It's a connection because you're showing it respect. It's really hard to he's dead on. It's hard to explain to somebody that doesn't hunt, and based off of a large percentage of my viewers, they probably don't because of the difficulty of license in Australia, whereas in the US you just have to like I actually had, if you're born before or after 1970 something, I don't remember, you have to go get a license or you have to pass a class for hunting. You have to understand safety and all that kind of stuff. Because what he's wearing, I could not legally wear to go hunting here in the United States. You have to have certain colors, orange, yellows, where other people see, where deer don't see it because they are colorblind. So, I mean, that's like one of those fun things that you learn when you're about to start hunting. That's like the entry level stuff. So learning about the animals, learning about the habitat. Like if you go hog hunting, you learn when they're bedding and they push down a lot of the flora. Then you also see, the flora. Then you also see like where they're rooting, where they're taking their tusks and hitting the side of a tree on the very bottom. Obviously, that's where they hit them because they're not that tall. But you can see how they've done that. And then you look for poop, basically, and you check to see how fresh it is. You can kind of see where they're going. Like there's a whole thing about it, and you're learning all this kind of stuff. Deer are a little bit about the same. You also learn their different footprints because different deer have different types of, feet or hooves. They're more feet than anything because they are dual. They typically have two different toes. I know there's a term. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. But there's just certain things that you just love to learn, and that's definitely one.
Third major value that informs my philosophy of hunting is a love, an appreciation, and a desire to have good, honest, organic, healthy food. And hunting provides you the opportunity to get that and get that really easily and get it really cheaply as well, which is ridiculous that you can walk into the supermarket and you can go to like the organic food section and you can see all of this rubbish product. And I shouldn't say that. Some of it's okay, but you pay an arm and a leg for something that is just still a shadow of what real, honest food can be. I'm talking about organic food. I'm talking about veggies harvested from your own garden. I'm talking about greens and veggies harvested from the environment, from the landscape, from the bush. Right. I'm talking about meat that has been harvested from an animal, whether it's deer or whether it's wild pig, or whether it's hares or rabbits or whatever. There is just amazing food out here. This is like nature's larder. There's like nature's butler's pantry. And all you need to do to get good food and get healthy is just spend some time out here and gather some yourself. It's amazing that we can still do that, considering how messed up our world is, that A, game is still around, and B, we're allowed to hunt it. But my favorite food experiences I've ever had in my life, where I've hunted something like deer and shot the deer that day, and then cut out the backstrap and sat with some mates.
I knew exactly where he was going with that. The second you bring up the backstrap and a deer, I mean, you can buy. So there are farms that do raise deer, but again, now you're changing everything up. Now it's fed by either corn or some type of feed, and not naturally fed. Now it's being, it's getting like drugs pumped into it to make sure they're healthy and stuff. Because by law in Texas, at least in Texas, I don't know about the rest of the United States, you cannot legally, if I go hunting, I cannot legally sell my neighbor meat. I have to just give it to him. As a gift. So because they're not USDA or USDA approved to sell, because they haven't had all these injections to make sure they're healthy and free of these diseases and all that kind of stuff. What's funny is that's obviously a way for them to make money, for the government, for these companies to make money, because realistically these deer are probably more clean and fresh and natural because they're feeding on the fresh, natural uh, flora. Yeah, flora. I'm getting these words confused. Um, but now in some states, you can actually grow corn to actually get the deer to come or any animal to come that they're wanting to hunt. But in Texas, where I hunt in public land down by Houston typically. And that's illegal because it's public land and the land is maintained by the Texas Wildlife Conservation. So they make sure, and then the only thing I actually have to pay for instead of paying for land rights and all this other stuff is just a license because you can only shoot so many deer. I want to say you can only shoot like 3 buck or 2 bucks and like 4 fawn or female deer. I think that's about it. So you can only shoot about 6 deer a year. That's if they're whitetail. Whitetail just don't produce as much. If you go further west Texas, you can hunt, what are they called? Axis deer and some other breed. I forget, which I haven't gotten the chance, which I want to, but those have open season because they're an invasive species. Where I live, there's only really whitetail for the most part.
Campfire and cooked that meal.
Yes.
And dressed the meat simply, seasoned it simply, and it's just like my mouth is watering like thinking about it. Like, it's the most amazing food that you can eat, and it's the best food for you. You don't need to go thinking about crazy diets. You don't need to think about thinking about balancing what foods. You just need to eat.
Let's say a doe. I don't know what I was thinking. A doe, a female deer.
Organic food. It's that simple. And hunting provides me the opportunity to feed my family. And like, we raise pigs, and so we get our own pork, and we have an amazing veggie garden that my wife manages. But a large part of our diet as well is sourced by the game that I shoot. And so, get a few deer, 3 or 4 deer is all you need for a whole year. And you're eating amazing meat, high quality meat, organic meat all year round. So that's another value that contributes to my philosophy of hunting.
And what's really nice for me anyways is, at least in Texas, white-tailed deer are probably the larger of the deer. So he's absolutely right. If you do get all 6, which I don't think I've ever hit all 6 deer. I've had tons of friends that do that. In fact, some of them don't even have to leave their yard to do that. But for me, I think most I've ever done is maybe 3 deer in one season. And all honesty, you don't want to eat deer 24/7 because I think it's still technically a red meat, so it's not technically the healthiest choice of meats. But being able to just go to your freezer and pull out a steak or some ground beef or a sausage, because whenever I don't process mine, that's a lot of work, and I don't have a location. I live in an apartment complex, but there's tons of processing companies. You give them $200 and they'll break down the deer however you want it. They'll give you a certain amount of this, certain amount of that, and then instead of just tossing out fat and the extras, they'll actually turn that into deer sausage for you. So, I mean, you can literally have every inch of that deer processed in whatever way you want and just enjoy it. It's awesome.
The fourth and final value that informs my philosophy of hunting is a desire to become a better person, to grow as an individual. And I think this is something that all hunters understand intuitively, but maybe not so great at expressing. You see, you spend time in the bush and it naturally lends itself towards introspection. Like, all of the craziness and busyness of the world and notifications.
Very true.
And
very,
ads
very
and
true.
work and stress and mortgages and relationships all kind of simmer down, and you're left with the basics of just spending time focusing on one thing, which is getting that animal, hunting that game, whatever you're doing, covering country, scoping out areas. And it lends itself towards being introspective and thinking a lot. And you spend any time thinking, well, you're going to start identifying problems, issues in your life that you should be resolving, or you're reflecting on the positive things that are in your life and being optimistic. And I spend a lot of time thinking about my kids and my wife when I'm out hunting, just because I love them so much and I'm so grateful and thankful. And that spirit of thankfulness kind of bubbles up inside of you when you spend time in beautiful nature. And it's a great opportunity as well to be critical of yourself. And as you're spending time, you'll realize what's important in your life. And for instance, if you're not spending enough time with your kids or your family, that will come out when you're in the bush. And it's important to take that information, take those musings, those thoughts, those reflections, and then implement them when you're back with your family, when you're back in the real world. And it doesn't have to be family, it can be anything at all. But hunting provides you an opportunity to do a lot of thinking and to think about yourself a lot and to think about how you're living your life, how you're engaging with others, and then to take those lessons and then use them in the real world. I say the real world. Hunting is the real world.
It's the real world.
Life.
Yeah.
And so that's it. That's the reasons why I hunt. And I hope that information was informative. I hope that it resonated with you. I actually want to hear from you. So if you have alternative reasons why you hunt or the same values, let me know in the comment section below and we can engage in a conversation. I'm more than happy to have a conversation, and I'm always keen to learn new things. And any time that I spend with other hunters is good time. So let me know in the comment section below what you think about this video as well and what you think about the channel.
That was fantastic. You know, I'd never thought about it actually. He brought up a great point. Like, you want to talk about breaking down. So in Texas, hunting season starts in November, the very first week of November. And so you're already gone through the entire year of all this stress and all these other things. Now you can hunt other things that are year round, like hog. But typically you always want to get to that first of the year. I do rifle hunting. I do not do bow hunting. I do not want to learn how to do a bow. That's a whole nother level. But you're sitting there, you're just with yourself, especially if you go hunting by yourself like I do myself. Eventually, I'll take my son if he's open to it. If he doesn't want to, that's totally fine. I respect his decision. But if he decides, because we're not like country folk, you know, I don't live out in the country. I live quite in the city, you know, like the small town. I live in a suburb of like 50-something thousand people. And then just east of me, within a 100-mile drive, I am close to roughly 7.5 to 8 million people. So definitely, I mean, I can go east one town over to Garland, which is, I think, 200,000 people. So I'm not exactly living the country boy lifestyle, but I love to get out into the woods, to get out into what he's calling the brush for us, and just setting up camp. They have campgrounds, especially in the public hunting, where they already have like location to put fires, to hook up if you have a trailer, an RV or something like that, or if you flat spots to put tents and all that kind of stuff. It's usually backed up to like a lake or something, so it's always real pretty. But there's just something about winding down the year in your head, because you can go hours on end without seeing a single thing, and then all of a sudden you see 10 things. You sit there by the fire late at night, because I only hunt from dusk to dawn, or dawn to dusk. I'll usually get up at around 4 a.m., go out to my blind, get set up, and then usually that early dusk, is it dawn? Dawn, rather. It, you know, right as the sun's coming up, that's when deer really come out, and then in dusk they'll be out. But sometimes you can see them all day long, any time of the day. And while you're just sitting there waiting, the only thing you can do is just think about yourself. If you have even headphones on, a lot of times the deer can even hear that music or whatever, so you don't even want to do that. So you're literally in your own mind. For me, 72 hours or even more, possibly, depending on how long I'm actually out there. There's just something to it. And then plus you got Christmas coming up and all that stuff. So you're thinking about, my kids, Thad has been fantastic this year. What should I get him? I know he wants this or this. I really want to try my best to get that for him, or whatever the case may be. So there's just something to that, being alone, being in the brush, being one with nature. I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's so true, and I love it to death. And I don't think anybody will ever get me to not love it. So, and realistically, hunting helps overpopulation of deer. If they were to make it illegal and take it away, we would be overran by deer. Like, legitimately, they breed fast. So there is benefit to it. But guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I showed the guns. I hope I didn't freak anybody out, and I'm sure this is going to get flagged for 18 plus. But if y'all enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And until next time, bye.